Hi guys, welcome to episode 2 of Roll with the Fox. Let's go over, it's a couple of seconds short of 10:30, so let's go over a couple of housekeeping things. I usually, the time is going to be the same. It's going to be 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, which is the New York City time, first Friday of every month. Give me your questions on the post when I'll post a picture with the logo and say, hey, next week we're doing Roll with the Fox episode 3 and so forth. Just write your questions down, and we're going to try to address them during the next episode. I usually try to tag the people that have commented on the last one, so if you want to be tagged in the next reminder for the next episode, just please comment. Hopefully the audio is good, and hopefully it's 10:30. I'm like a Swiss train, guys. So hopefully it's 10:30, and let's get started. All right, so I get a couple of questions, either emailed to me on Facebook or commented on the previous episode or commented on this one. So the first question, and actually that's been asked by a whole bunch of guys, is how do you train or how do you spar with bigger opponents, bigger, stronger opponents? Usually, if you shrink away from sort of the challenge, so to speak, if you're sort of like afraid of the size, it's sort of like you're very cagey and you become sort of easier to take down and dominate it. So usually, if I'm going against a bigger guy, I go after them. You got to go after them, but you got to also have a plan. I like to know what they're going to do next. So if we start out standing and I go with a bigger guy, the first thing I'll do, I'll just lock up and I just push. And I'll push. A lot of times they get surprised, and I'll push them into the wall. So any bigger guy, once you push them into a wall, generally speaking, they're not going to take it. They will push back, and chances are, there's certain laws of physics. Your skill will go to a certain level, and then, at some point, if the skill gap is not that significant, not that large, he will push back, and I know that. So as he's pushing back, a lot of times when they go against the wall, when they start to push back, they sort of start to lean forward, which allows me, if I go down, allows me to start breaking their posture and attacking. Okay, so let's look at it. So I'll push it to the wall. When he pushes back, I'm going to go down, and I'm attacking immediately, whatever he gives me. Right now, Enrique gave me sort of a weird Omoplata, Armlock, triangle. We're actually going to go over this position later, how we attack from that position. But I always want to have their posture broken and misaligned. All right? So whether they take me down or I pull guard off their pushback, I want to break their posture and I want to make sure they get misaligned. So that way their first order of business is not to attack me to pass my guard, but rather to gain posture back and line themselves up properly for guard pass. While they're trying to do that, I'm already attacking. So I'm pushing. The guy pushes back, I'm going to go down, and I'm attacking. It depends what he gives me. Right now, Enrique's giving me reverse triangle, and I will finish from here. Okay? Let's look at that concept when, he's either in my guard, or actually, why don't we go top cross side? So one of the things you cannot do is when I'm on top of cross side, and I'm going to try to hold. Imagine Enrique is another 50 pounds, 70 pounds heavier. So when he's that size, if I allow him to set his grips, he will prevail. All he needs to do, so if I sit here and try to hold him, at some point he's going to buck into me as I'm coming back down. He's going to roll me right through, okay? So in order for me to prevent that from happening, I will move. You can't just move around, for the sake of movement. When you move, you have to have a plan. My plan is to either expose his neck or expose his arms. So once I feel that Enrique set up his defenses, I will change. I will change my grips. Once you change your grips, he has to reset his. That gives you an opportunity to either attack or at least create an opening. So right now, Enrique has a good frame, and I don't have an opening, all right? So as he starts to set his defenses, I'm going to switch my hands. And now I'm looking for either arm isolation, okay? Or as he's coming up, he starts to come up. I'm looking for neck isolation. All right, so usually when they start to defend your top position, or rather attack your position from the top, they usually will expose one arm or their neck. And that's what I'm looking for. So again, one more time, as I'm on top, and I start to feel I'm gonna move. I may come back, and now I have some isolation and can finish, okay? So guys, don't forget, when you're on top of a big guy, don't just try to hold. The laws of physics will prevail at some point. So what I'm gonna do, again, I'm looking for his arm to come up, or at the very least, if you're dealing with a very skilled opponent, which keeps his arms in, at some point, as you move it around, I'm looking for a little opening where I can start to isolate. So if Enrique does a good job keeping his elbows in, I'm not getting under, you know, I'm gonna hold back and switch. Now I have isolation because it was focused on defending his arms, and I attacked the neck, or vice versa. Okay? So I hope that answers the question of how you deal with a larger opponent. Attack, but have a plan in mind. Move. If you're smaller, generally speaking, you need to be faster. If the skill level is equal, the only way you're going to beat him is if you move and transition, attacking combinations, and attack. Don't let him set the pace. If you're defending, he will get you at some point. Okay? Does anybody have any questions so far on there? All right. So guys, what we're going to go over is this was asked by a good friend of mine, a very good black belt from Colorado, Chris Merzak. Hopefully Chris is online. The question was, how do I attack from the guard, and how do I sort of set up the certain sort of submissions? This is actually a very, very interesting concept. My favorite guard is, I call it split guard, guys call it clamp guard, is where I have 2 feet on the hips, I have my training partner opponent stretched out, somewhat misaligned, okay, but I have one leg in, one leg out. That gives me a lot of options to attack with, okay? So this is what I'm talking about. This is where I want to be. I don't care whether you look at it from a MMA perspective or self-defense perspective. It's going to be almost impossible for Enrique to hit me. Okay? Now, if I look at it purely from a grappling perspective, Enrique can easily come forward because my feet are on the hips. Even if Enrique weighed 300 pounds, he's going to be pushing me along the mat. So he's not getting any closer to me. All right? Now, I can always stop him from coming forward, but also the way you kind of pinch your legs is it's not that easy for him to back out. Even nogi, okay? I'm going to digress a little bit, guys. We're going to alternate gi and nogi, but understand this, I tend to use universal grip, so my gi and nogi game are not that much different. Like, for example, you can see I'm grabbing Enrique's wrist rather than the sleeve. So I will tend to grab the wrist, gi or nogi anyways, all right? So now, look at this guard. What I have is Enrique's posture broken, okay? And he's misaligned. So I'm perfectly in perfect position to start attacking. I can aim for a sweep. But usually what I'll do is I'll hit him with an initial submission tap. It's a short arm lock, okay? The problem with that is, against a skilled opponent, you're not going to get it. You will put him in trouble, okay? Where he feels he's being, if he tries to move to his right, tap, he's putting himself into greater danger, okay? So the only possibility he has is to start turning away. So this is the defense you're going to see the most often, is when the guy starts to turn away from his arm. So basically what he's going to do, he's going to leave that arm behind. And that's our way to attack, okay? Let's look at it. How do I get there from close guard? First thing, I need his hands off my torso because this gives him good posture. If it's with the gi, you may have to do some grip breaking. without the gi, you can move him a little bit with your legs and your hips to make sure his hands come off your torso. Some guys, the way they want to pass guard, they will put their hands on the floor, but a lot of times you need to get them off. It's a lot easier without gi, but even with the gi, you just break, and now they're off. Okay? Now, the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my guard and put one foot, other foot on the hip. Now I'm in a great position to attack. So what I'm going to do is he decides, there's always a threat of that short arm lock. As you can see, Enrique moves to his right, to my left, okay? It actually causes more pain. So he will move away from the pain. My first possible attack is a triangle. This is the one that I would prefer to attack with, because that's the strongest submission out of the three. So usually guys that have high level of skill, they know that the triangle is there, okay? So rather than moving away from the triangle, okay, they will move further away. When this happens, I no longer have a triangle, because if I try to attack a triangle from here, I'm going to lose it, all right? So if he moves further away, I'm going to attack Omoplata, okay? So, again, hands off, all right? He turns away. If he stays square, tap, short arm lock. He turns away, triangle. He turns away a little more, it's Omoplata, okay? Now, and the fourth one is the guy really turns away. I don't want him to turn away that far. When he turns away that far, I'm going to roll into an inverted arm lock. So we're going to go through that sequence again. But basically what he decides is what I'm going to hit him with next. I know he's going to turn away. The question is it a little bit? Short arm lock. A little more? Omoplata. I'm sorry, triangle. A little more? Omoplata. And a little more? Inverted arm lock. So I call it like the sprinkler system. He sort of, I don't know if you ever seen the sprinklers as they sort of like move through the radius. Okay, so he decides what I'm going to hit him with. Ideally, the one that I would prefer the most is a triangle. But if it's, one of the things I tell my students is, you know, make sure you pick the right tool for the right job. So you got to understand, again, my triangle, because out of those three, submission is probably going to be the strongest. That would be the one I'd like to choose the most. But if I choose that, if he turns too far away, you will not get it against a skilled opponent. What's going to happen is you have too far to travel, too far to get his head back in line to line up the triangle. All right? So he's going to decide that. If he turns too far away, we're going to switch to either Omoplata or inverted arm lock. So let's look at it again. So I'm going to hit with this. That's my first. He turns a little bit further away, I'm hitting him with triangle. I can still get it done. He actually helps you because when he turns a little bit, he actually makes it very easy for your leg to come out. If he's too square up, okay, my leg is going to come out. It's not coming out that smoothly. But if he turns a little bit, that leg is coming out very easily, and we're done. Okay? But a lot of times the guy will just turn further away. So I'm going to switch into Omoplata. Okay? Now, the hardest one, this is where people tend to lose it all the time, is when I attack and he turns far away. When that happens, guys, don't post on your elbow. Post on your shoulder, roll through. Be very careful. This gets very tight. But don't try to arch out while your hips are facing the floor. I'm going to try to finish here. If for some reason the guy is flexible and rolls, that I only use one hand to hold his arm. The other one goes under his leg. This makes it very difficult for him to escape, and I can just bring second leg over. All right? So, one more time, we go through the sprinkler system, and then we're going to move on. So, hands off the torso, short arm lock, triangle, omoplata, and finally, and the most difficult one, is the inverted arm lock. Tap. Does anybody have any questions on this before we move on? Okay. So let's go back to another question that people had. Again, this is against a bigger and stronger opponent. This time, as he's passing my guard. One of the things that you got to keep in mind is when somebody's passing your guard, you can't just bait them into some sort of hoping that they fall right into your trap. Yeah, that may happen occasionally, but if you're dealing with somebody that has skill, they will take advantage of you. Okay, so if you sort of like just Enrique's passing my guard, and either I got it or I didn't get, and I'm in a bad position. So as somebody's passing my guard, I'm going to make it very difficult for them. I'm going to keep regaining. I'm going to keep getting my grips. I'm going to make it very difficult for them to get through. So when they finally, even if I do expect at some point, you might be getting tired, that you expect the guy that at some point he's going to get through. As he's getting through, I'm already coming out the back way. Or the other possibility is, especially if the guy goes over and under, as he's coming through, I'm going to turn and put him into an inverted triangle. So again, I'm not looking to sort of bait him into a trap. I want to make his guard passing difficult. If you feel like you sort of start to slow down and at some point the guard pass is going to happen, what you want to do is try to defend it to the point where he makes a big mistake. A lot of times, as the guys just fight from side to side, they start to, as you're defending, sometimes their arm comes out a little bit more, which allows you to attack the arm. As you're going through from side to side, a lot of times the guy tries to control your hips with either the arm. If his arm is close to your hips like this, he has a lot of strength. Once he tries to clamp it down where he has to stretch out his arm, that's where things get a little more difficult. And that allows you to attack. So let's look at that again. So if Enrique can control my hips very tight, this is going to be hard. This is where I screwed up. Now I'm basically bracing myself to attack, to defend from the bottom of cross side. All right. I will still make it difficult for him, but I already know that he's going to pass my guard, and I'm already looking to attack. All right, or escape. But as I'm passing around and we're fighting, and I make it difficult, Enrique at some point tries to control my hips, and the arm starts to come out. When that's the case, I will actually just pull at the elbow, and now I start to regain guard, and we wind up in my favorite guard again, where now I not only put him back in guard, which is important, but unless I'm really, really tired, I'm not going to lock on my guard. This is a better way for me to attack where I am right now. As we saw a few minutes earlier, it's very easy for me to attack. Very difficult for Enrique to pass my guard now. So even if he wants to back out, I'm going with him. Okay, so very difficult to back out and very difficult to come forward. So even if he holds my pants, it doesn't matter. And again, it depends, when I break his posture, when he sort of stumbles as he's passing my guard, and his arm starts to extend a little bit more, that's the time to attack. That's the time to sort of, okay, if your guard gets passed, make sure he makes a mistake. I take that philosophy from the top too. Is if I'm on top of somebody bigger and stronger, and I'm going after them, and at some point I know they're going to roll me through, I'm okay to give up the top position as long as I have a really, really good grip. What I mean by that is either his arm or his neck. All right, so let's look at that again from the guard. And now I can attack. All right, let's look at the idea, what we're talking about from the top. So on top, cross side. And I know, Enrique, you know, I'm dominating, I'm switching, and at some point, he comes up on top, that's okay. If I can have this grip, I let him get on top. If I'm on top, as he starts to turn to me, again, I won't let him get on top because he's coming straight into my guillotine. I always feel comfortable. I'll be able to put him back down and regain my position. You know, now I'm gonna attack with something else. Might be a arm lock. If he defends the arm lock, I'm gonna switch to Kimura. Okay. So again, guys, the key is in my game, and not everybody's gonna have the same game. When I'm on top or I'm on the bottom, I try to attack. When I'm on the defensive, all right, when I'm on the defensive, whether it's in my guard or elsewhere, I will try to get the momentum back, meaning that I'd like to attack, go after him, because when somebody's being chased, they don't usually go after you. But sometimes I've had guys, world-class guys that are, you know, 50, 70, 80 pounds heavier than me, and a lot faster, and have a lot more wind. So I know that at some point, if we keep this up, if I continue to play his game, they will eventually get through my guard. So I will let him come forward. I will let him, but only under one condition: he has to make a mistake. Okay. So if he makes a mistake and he comes forward, I will try to catch him off that guard pass. Okay. Again, one of my favorites is that inverted arm lock. So we're fighting, bull fighting. He goes to inverted rather triangle. It's a very strong submission, guys. I like it a lot. So that's sort of some philosophies what I use against bigger guys, and also answering Chris's question as, you know, how do you deal with somebody that's sort of you have him in your guard, and how do you attack? How do you go about sort of start to break him down? First step, guys, break their posture. Okay. Usually, if their hands are on your torso, they have good posture. Once the hands are on the ground, their posture breaks. So now I broke their posture. Now I'm going to attack, and I'm going to try to stretch them out, misalign, and then I go to town. Again, first thing, short arm lock. Second thing, triangle. Third thing, omoplata. Fourth thing, inverted arm lock. Guys, should my attacks fail? Again, I look at it from, it doesn't matter. If I'm attacking from top of cross-side or from the mount, if my attack fails, I'm looking to either improve my position or at the very least preserve a good position. Okay? If it's failing from my guard, and I can't really get the submission, the guys back their way, don't chase something again. Don't try to use the wrong tool where you're trying to triangle him at all costs. What you're looking for is to go with his momentum. If the guy's pulling back, just go with the momentum. You'll be surprised how easy it is to sweep a big guy. If you put a big guy on his back, he will try to get you, make sure that you don't stay there very long. So understand that and start to move around, start to attack to the point where you either get a submission, you have some isolation, or at the very least he makes a big mistake where he leaves the arm extended, and then you can go through a sequence of arm attacks. And again, getting a submission or a superior position. How we doing? 5 minutes? All right, guys, we have about 5 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to post them underneath the live feed. If no questions, I'm going to go address another question. Okay. So, what we're going to do is one of my favorite ways to attack is from north-south. All right? Turtle.
Terrible.
Yeah. So this position, I literally could talk about for an hour. This one, a lot of times I can get there. You can get there offensively, meaning, you snap the guy's head down from standing. So it may look something like this. Okay, or you pass in your training partner's or opponent's guard, and as he's passing, he has no choice, but he turtles up. I usually try to make him carry my weight. That's the most important thing. Once I get somebody north-south, I want them to carry my weight. So what happens, they start to move slower, and even if the guy's bigger, I still make him carry his weight. So usually when people get to north-south, the favorite form of attack is to take their back. And they know that. So a lot of times their defenses are set up against you taking their back. So as I'm starting to take Enrique's back, even if I come here, I'm looking to take his back. He set up a defense. I might prevail. I actually have a good collar grip. I might prevail. But a lot of times what I try to attack is stay north-south and attack the neck. Because I know if I attack the neck, I will be able to either finish him or wind up in a superior position. Again, that's what I'm looking for. Right now I have a superior position, but it's not that great. A lot of guys still have very, very good defenses from being turtled up. In MMA, it's a little bit harder for Enrique because obviously I can hit him a few times to open him up. In grappling, it's a little bit more difficult where I'm trying to break him down and he's stopping me. Then I decide to go. He already got a grip on my left hand. That's the most important hand for me, my left hand right now. So Enrique got a grip, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to neutralize that grip and make sure that I reinforce the arm that's around his neck. That always is going to be putting pressure on him in terms of remembering that if he makes a mistake, he's getting choked. Okay? I might be able to weave the hand around and wind up taking his back with all the associated attacks. I try to tend to, once I have something that is favorable, I want to minimize my movement. I want to have very good efficiency of movement. I want to make sure that I don't move around too much. So now, this is a very different strategy from the one we discussed before. So even if this is a bigger guy, I will try to make him not sort of fully feel where the attack's coming from until I'm ready to commit to it. But if I move around on a big guy too much, he rolls. Now I'm going to have to disengage. But if he succeeds with that roll, go ahead, succeed, Enrique. Now I might be able to, so I keep threatening him. So I'm always looking to neutralize if he does something good. All right? But there are times when as I'm going to his back, go. Is this how it goes? He'll do a better job. He can, if I go live with him and try to switch to his back, chances are he might escape. So let's see that. Yes, escape. Go ahead. So you saw that. Okay, it's still not too bad. I'm in a good position to possibly pass his guard. Okay, but I just sort of missed an opportunity to put him away. He was in turtle, now I'm passing his guard. So a lot of times when I'm north-south, my first grip goes around for a chin strap. Now, guys know that a choke is possible, so they will go 2-on-1. That's okay, even if they go 2-on-1, I can get a strong grip. And I usually use this as my guillotine grip here. So now he's in trouble because I have 2-on-1. So does he, but my 2-on-1 is stronger than his. The reason for that is because both my hands went close to his hips. Guys, I tend to put my head on this side. If you over and you have somebody strong and you try to have your head on the far side of your body, if they actually posture up and try to roll, your head is going to hit the mat first. So I try to, especially if the guy's bigger, I try to be on this side, okay? Away from my choking arm. So in this case, I'm on my right, on Enrique's left. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to isolate his limb. So Enrique's limb is pretty well anchored on the ground. But if I push, it's not quite as anchored. So I push, and I use either my arm, if the guy's really, really strong. So pretend you're really, really strong. I use my leg, and now I get it deep. Guys, from here, I will try to make him roll. A lot of times he will roll on his own, trying to escape this. And I will wind up with a very strong Anaconda. We're going to go over one more very important thing from here. Guys, when I attack, I get the grips and I take the risk on the submission. I'm looking to make sure that if I do not wind up in a position to submit him immediately, at the very least, I'm able to get back to where I started from. It's a very important idea. That is especially important from attacking from your guard. If you have somebody in your guard, make sure that when you attack, it's not a careless attack where the guy has posture, you shoot your hips up trying to get a triangle. The guy just sort of postures up, goes around your legs, shoves them through, and now you're on the bottom cross side. So in this case, say I've made the connection, I moved, now I have my arm very deep. And say, as no, stay up. The guy stays up, and I have a hard time, it'd be risky for me to switch to the Anaconda grip, because it would just not be deep enough. So I keep my grip, guys, and as he's trying to stay up, I'm going to scissor my legs and come back. This time, as he's still dealing with the possible guillotine Anaconda attack, I will take his back, and here we go. So again, as he's defending the guillotine / Anaconda attack, okay, I get back to the position that I was before, and I switch my attack. All right, guys, so unless there's any other questions, yes.
Rita Morak says hello, Master Karl, and has questions that maybe we can address next time.
Hi, Rita from Morocco. We'll just send me the questions. We'll address them next time. Hello back, guys. Have a great weekend, and again, don't hesitate to send me questions. Preferably, guys, if you're sending me questions, try to do it 1 week before the episode. So if you send them to me tomorrow, I will try to write them down, but I want to make sure I don't forget. It's a lot harder for me to forget if it's a week before the next episode. I guess the next episode is Friday, August 3rd. Can somebody confirm that for me?
Friday is the 2nd.
Friday, August 2nd, guys. Okay? I will talk to you then.